Hey, let's redesign WEISS. My patrons get to vote on upcoming video topics, and I asked them which RWBY girl they would like to see me redesign. And WEISS won that vote by a long shot. So let's do this. I'm gonna approach this as if her current design didn't exist. Volume 6 has just ended, and Roosterteeth has chosen me to redesign her outfit. Alrighty, there's a lot to do, so let's just dive right in. First things first, I'm gonna put her in a really generic pose. I know this is kind of boring, but the point here is to show off her outfit. Dynamic poses are fun, but can really obscure their clothes with their crazy positions. Okie dokie, so now, with designing a character, especially for RWBY, there's going to be 4 things I'm keeping in mind as I'm designing her. 1. Color palette. Color is important in any show as it helps make the characters easily recognizable. Like, if Naruto showed up in a blue outfit, no one would recognize him. His signature color is that orange he wears, so we don't want to deviate too far away from what the show has already established. And this point is even more important with RWBY, since the characters are based around this color gimmick. For WEISS, obviously, our primary color is going to be white. But for her accents, I want to go with black, red, and dark blue. Black and red has already been used in her designs before, and she's had light blues too, but I want to go darker, because I want to highlight this idea that WEISS is distancing herself from her family. The Sneeze usually wear pale blues, so I'm making WEISS's blue darker to help distance herself from looking like she's still aligned with her family. 2. The characters' growth and personality. It wouldn't make sense to throw Yang into a combat skirt that doesn't match her personality or style. WEISS has a through line of using skirts and looking very proper. I also need to think about what WEISS is going through. Volume 7 feels like a rebirth for our characters. They've been separated and beaten down so much, now they're finally starting to get back to their old selves. But importantly, they're all maturing. Hell, in Volume 7, the kids even get their huntsman licenses. I want to keep this theme of maturity and rebirth in mind while I'm making this design. 3. Weapon and fighting style. I want to highlight certain parts of WEISS's body that'll help make her fighting style really pop, drawing your eye to her weapon as best I can. We'll get more into that in a bit. And 4. Weather and terrain. Atlas is cold and snowy. Now RWBY gets to play a little fast and loose with their outfits pertaining to weather. WEISS even says,
"Without heating or a projected aura, the cold of Solitas can kill you in a matter of hours."
But as we see, even just before she says her line here, the characters do still get cold. If we just ignore this fact, then the designs might look ridiculous. Nora is waltzing around in a sleeveless dress. It's silly looking, knowing she's in a freezing environment. Okay, so we got our 4 main parts in mind. Let's dive into her new look. First, I want to give WEISS a bell shape. She's always worn large skirts, and I want to emulate this. But I also want to drop the skirt element. A skirt doesn't really make much sense in the tundra, so instead I'm making this a long jacket that bells out a little. This also adds to that theme of maturity I talked about. Grown adults don't usually wear big poofy ballerina skirts. Now, with WEISS's fighting style, I want to emphasize her hands as much as possible. Martin Astor is really thin and not always easy to see when in action. By bringing our eyes to WEISS's hands, we can more easily find her rapier, making her attacks look like they really leave an impact. However, WEISS also tends to move her legs a lot. She's a bit like a dancer, stopping to do these little poses while in combat. So let's highlight this. If we balance out her design by also emphasizing her feet, then her dancing fighting style should leave even more of an impact. So we gotta draw your eye to her hands and feet. Cool. To start, I'm gonna give her large rolled up sleeves, yet keep her arms fitted. I don't want to highlight her arms, it's specifically her hands. Next, to balance it back to her feet, I'm going to give her these boots. I'm not sure how I'll use them for emphasis, but we'll have plenty to play around with them when it comes to color placement. Let's give her a popped collar to help frame her face. Her older outfits had large collars in their designs too. Only when she was trapped in the Schnee Manor did her collar not poof out. Remember, we want to symbolize rebirth. She gets to be herself again, but to also give us that feeling of maturity, let's make it a little smaller, less gaudy than before. And to jazz up her midsection and to help sell this jacket skirt idea, let's throw a belt on her too. Now, I really like the idea of the girls changing their hair, and I also really like the idea of WEISS putting hers in a braid. Her hair has been flying around her face for forever, so let's have her tie it up. I want to keep it off to the side still, but I want it to be much lower. She's taking her job as a huntress seriously now, so let's get that hair out of her way while she's fighting. I want to leave a bigger tail braid on the end, mostly because I want her hair to look distinctly different from Tyrion's. I don't want to accidentally make similar through lines between characters who aren't aligned with each other. Now, this might be a controversial idea, but I want to get rid of her tiara. I know it's a staple of her design, but come on, it's a little silly to be wearing a little princess crown while trying to save the world. And honestly, WEISS's character has grown out of it. She's not the heiress anymore, and she's not relying on her family's money or support. Imagine during that scene when everyone's looking at their hair before cutting it, we get a shot of WEISS taking off her tiara and putting it away with a look of determination. Now, I do want to keep something jazzy up in her hair. Just because we're nixing the crown doesn't mean we have to abandon the idea of this through line. I'm opting for an elaborate hair accessory. Now, I don't want it to be on the same side as her braid, otherwise it would make that side of her face really busy. So if we put it over here, let's sweep her bangs over to be pinned by it. With her hair like this and her collar up, it's gonna frame her face really well. Okay, this is what we're working with. We got our ideas, we got our silhouette, now we can get to play around with patterns and accessories. To start, her jacket feels like a big, empty canvas to me, so let's play around with this. I want to put a straight line down the front. This way, you should always be able to tell what direction her body is facing when she starts doing all of her flippity-doo-dahs. And let's add a couple of buttons to jazz it up a little more, you know? Now, the bottom of her jacket feels a little simplistic, so I want to do something on the bell of it. Now, I know I want her jacket to be white, but let's not get married to any other specifics for color until after we get all of our accessories and patterns figured out. I'm gonna do this little maneuver here to add some interesting flair to the look, but it'll really matter when it comes to figuring out the color palettes here. So let's just add this and come back to it later. And while we're down here, let's add some pockets. I like pockets. They're cute. And we'll add little diamond shapes on them. Yay! WEISS is fun because she has this theme of ice and stuff, so I gotta play around with sharp straight lines and diamonds, like how I'm making this little dot pattern down her shoulder. Dotted lines or stripes act like arrows to our eyes, so this little detail should help point our eyes down her arm to her hands, right where we want you to look. I'm not adding too much though. A pattern like this can also easily become a distraction. Now, RWBY's a show that uses 3D models, so we can't ignore the backside of our characters. I feel like this was a problem, especially with Blake's Volume 4 through 6 outfit. This giant white coat is just begging for something to be going on with its back. So let's do a quick sketch to show what's going to be happening behind WEISS. I don't want to use a straight line, otherwise it'll look too similar to her front. I want the viewer to tell at a glance whether WEISS is facing away from the camera or not. I decided on this sort of star-shaped pattern, incorporating those little diamonds from her arms over onto her back. It ties the whole look together. Now her collar. I just want to add a little something here. That's the other fun thing about using 3D models. I could add a bunch of little details here and there because they don't have to keep drawing the same intricate outfit over and over and over again. It's just part of their model. Ugh, her legs. What do I do with her legs? I never know what to do with legs. I want to add these little pointed designs towards her feet. I don't want to put too much emphasis on her legs, but I also want her legs to look nice when she's moving around. Choosing the color palette here will be really important. And her belt's looking a little simple. Personally, I'm a big fan of big, gaudy belt buckles, so let's make it the Schnee Dust emblem. Having her emblem on her, but not too big and overbearing with all its points and arrows and whatnot. Yeah, let's just pretend this is exactly what the Schnee emblem looks like. Now her shoes. Remember, I want to use her feet as a point of emphasis. But how should I go about that? Let's add this little belt thing around here. This could help us out. We'll just add some small things here and there, mostly for style. And I want her to be wearing gloves, so let's add a little pattern here, and cool. Alright, look at this. Now we can finally start adding color. Now I really want to make sure I get her hair and skin color right. This is something Ayn Lee doesn't seem to always do. She tends to make RWBY slightly more tan than she really is, and that's pretty important. Even if it's just a slight difference in shade, it can be wildly different. So let's just grab this picture of WEISS and add her colors in here. Boom, we're ready to roll. Now WEISS's hair is more of a very light gray, so let's make her jacket just pure white. And in contrast, I want to make her accent colors of her jacket pure black. You might notice this is pretty similar looking to her one-shot outfit from Volume 2. That is my favorite WEISS outfit so far in the show. It's not a bad thing to be inspired by old designs, especially one that was just so good. This also plays into my idea of rebirth and maturity. During these episodes, the kids are trying really hard to act like adults, going out on their own and doing secret missions against Torchwick and the White Fang, but they really were just still dumb kids. I'm coming back to this style, but making it look like she actually is as mature as she wanted to be back then. Now I want to make her legs a dark, dark, dark blue. but not pure black. Too much blacks would muddy up the whole look of her legs while fighting. Black on black on black is hard to register when layers are on top of each other, and I want this accent to be a lighter blue. I think adding this little white line that goes all the way down will really make her legs pop in combat. I want her red accents to mostly be in her collar and in her shoes, to even out the look and not overdo it with too many colors. Using a million different colors could really make a good design become busy, ruining all the hard work you've put into designing the outfit. Let's just throw on our final touches here and there, and bam. This is my redesign for WEISS. This was so much fun. I don't get to draw as much as I used to, and it was fun getting to just spend time on this. I really like how she turned out. I hope you do too. I'll have this picture posted on Twitter later if you want to check it out more. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all awesome. Ramiel, Andrew, Cool Duck, James Dodds, Nako, Michael, Chamomile, and Valhalla Knight. Alrighty, thank you for watching this video. I had a lot of fun. I love being able to just draw characters every now and then and come up with designs, and this was a lot of fun to come up with. I hope you enjoyed it too. I want to know your thoughts and critiques on my art. Like, I know I'm not perfect, but what did you think of the design I came up with? And I want to know, more importantly, what designs would you come up with? If you have any, like, pictures or stuff, send them to me on Twitter. My Twitter is in the description. And I want to see what all you have going on, because you're all pretty cool, and I bet you can come up with some cool stuff too. Yeah, my patrons voted for this topic. If you want to vote on topics too, you can become a patron. Any tier will let you do the voting thing, and there are a bunch of other cool stuff that you can do too. It started raining. I don't know if you can hear that, it started raining. But yeah, if that's something you're interested in and you want to help support me, then go ahead and check out my Patreon. Any thoughts and opinions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. And it's raining.